Hey there. Ready for a deep dive? Today we're tackling dry eyes. And I know this one hits home for a lot of you because you requested it. So get ready to explore that dry, scratchy feeling some of us know all too well.
And it's definitely more than just a minor annoyance. It's surprisingly complex, and luckily you sent in some great research on it.
I love getting to the bottom of things, so let's jump right in. I always thought dry eyes just meant your eyes weren't making enough tears, like a permanent drought situation.
That's a common misconception. It's true, some people don't produce enough tears, but dry eyes can also happen if those tears evaporate too quickly, or even because of the tear's composition.
Wait, so tears have a composition. It's not just like salty water.
Definitely not. Tears actually have three layers. There's an oily layer on top, which prevents evaporation, a watery middle layer for moisture, and a mucus layer that helps spread the tears evenly.
That is amazing. Who knew tears were so high-tech? And actually, that makes me think of some of the research you sent in. I was surprised to see some of the things that can cause dry eyes.
Absolutely. Many people don't realize common medications like antihistamines for allergies, even some antidepressants can actually cause dry eye.
Wow, I had no idea. I'm reaching for the antihistamines all allergy season long. What else messes with those tear layers?
Another thing that might surprise you is vitamin A deficiency. It's not as common as some of the other causes, but something to be aware of. And then there's the one we can probably all relate to, not blinking enough, especially in our screen-obsessed world.
Oh, tell me about it. I swear I spent half my life staring at a screen. But how much can not blinking really impact things?
More than you'd think. Each blink spreads that tear film across your eye, keeping the whole surface lubricated. And when we stare at screens, we blink less, which leads to those dry spots and irritation.
It's crazy how these tiny things can make such a difference.
Mm.
So besides that dry feeling, what are some other signs someone might have dry eyes?
Well, along with dryness and irritation, you might experience blurred vision, sensitivity to light, or even trouble wearing contacts.
Wow, I had no idea it could affect your vision. Okay, so definitely more than a minor inconvenience. Speaking of solutions, one thing you sent over really caught my eye. Punctal plugs. I'm not going to lie, the name alone is quite the attention grabber.
It definitely sparks some curiosity, but they're actually a really simple and effective solution for lots of people with dry eyes.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Break it down for us. What are punctal plugs?
Picture this. Tiny biocompatible plugs. Don't worry, that just means they're made from materials that work well with your body. And they're gently inserted into the tear ducts in your eyelids.
Hold on, the ducts where my tears drain.
Uh-huh.
So you're like plugging up the tear escape route.
Exactly.
Okay, that's a visual. But why block the tears from draining away? Doesn't that seem counterintuitive?
Think of it like this. By keeping those tears from escaping, we maximize their lubricating power. It's all about keeping your natural tears around for longer, keeping your eyes moist.
So instead of relying only on artificial tears or constantly using drops, the punctal plugs help your body work with itself to stay moisturized. Pretty clever when you think about it. And speaking of options, I read that there are several types of punctal plugs. Is that right?
You're right. Just like contact lenses, there are different types of plugs to fit everyone's needs.
Okay, so let's talk options. What kinds of punctal plugs are we working with here?
First up, we have temporary or dissolving plugs, usually made from collagen, and as the name suggests, they dissolve over time. These are great for people who need relief after eye surgery, or maybe want to test the waters before committing to something more permanent.
A try before you buy
Yeah.
option for your eyes. Makes sense. What else you got?
Next up are semi-permanent plugs. These are typically silicone or acrylic, designed for longer relief. We're talking months, even years. And they can be removed by a doctor if needed.
Gotcha. So a bit more of a commitment, but still reversible. What about if you do want a permanent solution?
For those folks who love their semi-permanent plugs and want to go all in, we have permanent punctal plugs. These usually involve a procedure called cautery.
Cautery. Okay, I gotta admit, that word always makes me a little squeamish. What does that even mean for your eye?
It sounds scarier than it is. Cautery, in this case, is a really quick, precise procedure using heat to close those tear ducts for good. It's only considered after someone's had success with the semi-permanent plugs.
So no need to worry about someone busting out the soldering iron on your first visit. It sounds like there are options for different comfort levels and needs, which is great.
Exactly. But we should mention that punctal plugs aren't right for everyone.
I was just about to ask. It seems almost too easy, so I figured there had to be a catch.
There are definitely a few situations where punctal plugs might not be the ideal solution.
Like what? When are punctal plugs a no-go?
For example, if you got any active eye inflammation, a condition called ocular rosacea, or certain types of blepharitis, which is inflammation of the eyelids, punctal plugs might not be the best route.
Right, it's all about finding the best solution for your unique situation, just like with any medical treatment. So how do you even figure out if you're a good candidate for punctal plugs?
That is a fantastic question. One of the things your doctor will look at is whether you have a specific type of dry eye called aqueous deficiency, which means your eyes aren't producing enough tears.
So if you're dealing with aqueous deficiency, are punctal plugs the way to go?
That's the one. See, with aqueous deficient dry eye, it's all about holding on to those precious tears you do have. Remember those three layers? Aqueous deficiency is a problem with the middle watery layer.
Right, the actual tear part of your tear film.
You got it. In these cases, punctal plugs can really make a difference because they stop those existing tears from draining away, which essentially makes each tear work harder to keep your eyes comfy.
Now that is fascinating. It's not just about keeping any moisture in there, it's about maximizing those natural tears you already have. So if someone thinks they might have aqueous deficiency, should they just run to the eye doctor and demand punctal plugs? Or what's the best approach?
I mean, it's great to be proactive, but I wouldn't go in with demands right away. It's more about having a good conversation with your doctor.
That makes total sense. So walk me through it. How does someone get diagnosed and figure out what their options are?
Well, it usually starts with a thorough eye exam. Your doctor's going to check your overall eye health, see how many tears you're producing, might even examine the composition of your tears.
Getting the full tear layer breakdown.
You got it. They're not just checking if you have dry eyes, but why and how bad it is. And that helps them figure out what to recommend.
Right, because like we said, every case is different. So let's say someone is dealing with dry eyes, they see their doctor, and punctal plugs are on the table. What's that procedure actually like? Is it scary?
Honestly, most people are surprised by how quick and easy it is. We're talking just a few minutes per eye right there in the office.
Okay, so nothing too crazy time-wise. But what about the actual insertion? I gotta be honest, thinking about something going in my tear duct freaks me out a little.
I hear you, but it's really not bad at all. They use numbing eye drops so you don't feel a thing during the insertion.
Okay, that does make me feel better. And then, what's the recovery like? Am I rocking an eye patch for days?
No way, it's super quick. Most people can go right back to their normal routine, even driving, right after they're done.
Wow. Okay, so pretty speedy turnaround.
Yeah.
Seems surprisingly simple for something that can make such a difference.
It really is pretty incredible, but we do have to remember that punctal plugs are usually just one piece of the puzzle.
Right, it's not like a magic cure-all. So, what else can people do to feel better? Whether or not they get punctal plugs, what are the other options?
Oh, there's a ton of things people can try, depending on their situation.
Hit me with it. I'm all about having options.
A lot of folks start with over-the-counter artificial tears, those lubricating eye drops. They can help for a bit, especially if your dry eyes aren't too bad or just pop up every now and then.
Like a little refresh for your eyes.
Exactly. And if those aren't cutting it, a doctor might prescribe something stronger, like drops that actually boost hair production or calm down any inflammation.
So going for the root cause, instead of just slapping a Band-Aid on the symptoms.
You got it. And then there are some in-office treatments that can be really effective, too.
Like what? Tell us more.
Well, there's one called LipiFlow. It focuses on the eyelids, specifically those oil glands we talked about, the ones that keep your tears from evaporating away too quickly.
Right, those oil glands are the MVPs of preventing tear evaporation.
For sure. So LipiFlow uses gentle warmth and a little pressure on the eyelids, and that helps to unblock those oil glands and get them working like they're supposed to.
Like a spa day for your oil glands, getting them back in tip-top shape. What else? Are there any other in-office treatments I should know about?
Another one that's getting more popular is intense pulsed light therapy. It's called IPL for short.
Wait, IPL, like what they use for facials and stuff.
That's the one. It's mostly known for its cosmetic uses, but it turns out IPL can also work wonders on dry eyes.
Okay, see, now that is fascinating.
Yeah.
How does that even work? How does shining a light on your face help with dry eyes?
It's all about those oil glands again. The light from the IPL actually targets and shrinks those wonky blood vessels that can mess with those glands and cause inflammation.
So it's like hitting the reset button on those glands, helping them get back on track. I am loving learning about all these different approaches.
It's really remarkable how many options are out there. And the main thing is that people realize they don't have to just suffer. There's help available. And finding the right treatment plan can be life-changing.
Absolutely. But it's not just about the treatments, right?
Mm.
We touched on lifestyle changes earlier, but let's dive into that a little deeper.
Yeah.
What can people do on a daily basis to combat those pesky dry eyes? We're going to talk about blinking breaks, especially for our screen-loving listeners.
Which are so important. Don't underestimate a good blink break.
I won't. But what else, besides blinking, should we be thinking about?
Well, one of the easiest things you can do is optimize your environment. Pay attention to the humidity in your home and office. That dry air can be brutal on already dry eyes.
Oh, absolutely. Dry air is not your friend when you have dry eyes.
No. So a humidifier, especially when it's dry outside or if you live somewhere arid, can make a world of difference.
Just adding that moisture back into the air.
Exactly. And since we're talking about stuff in the air, don't forget about your air filter.
Okay, now explain that one to me.
hmm
How does my air filter play into this whole dry eye situation?
It's about keeping those irritants out. A good air filter will get rid of dust, pollen, pet dander, all that tiny stuff that can really irritate your eyes and make dry eyes even worse.
Right. It's like giving your eyes a cleaner space to exist in. I'm a big air filter person anyway, so that's an easy win.
Exactly. And here's a curveball for you. Even the eyewear you choose can make a difference.
Really? I thought glasses were just for seeing clearly or looking cool.
Well, they can definitely do both, but they can also be like little bodyguards for your eyes, protecting them from dryness. Wraparound sunglasses outside, especially if it's windy, can really help keep those tears from drying up too fast.
Creating a little moisture shield.
Exactly. Even inside, wearing regular glasses or those blue light glasses that are trendy now, those can help too, especially for you screen timers out there.
Right, gotta fight back against that screen-induced dryness.
For sure. They're notorious for messing with your blink rate, and we know how important that is for a healthy tear film.
Speaking of which, are there any other things that can affect our blink rate or just contribute to dry eyes in general that we might not think about?
Oh, for sure. We always talk about things we do that cause dry eyes, but sometimes it's about what we're not doing.
Like what? Spill the tea?
Like getting enough sleep. It might sound crazy, but not getting enough shut-eye can actually make dry eye symptoms worse.
No way, seriously.
Yeah,
But I guess it makes sense. I mean, your whole body needs that time to recharge.
exactly. And when you don't get enough sleep, your eyes will tell the tale, just like the rest of you. So yeah, aim for that 7 to 8 hours a night. It's good for everything, especially happy, hydrated eyes.
I'm definitely guilty of not always getting enough sleep, but I never thought about it affecting my eyes like that. It really is all connected.
100%. And while we're talking about things that impact our overall health, we can't forget about food. Diet plays a role in dry eyes too, you know?
Okay, let's talk food. What should we be eating to keep those eyes happy and hydrated?
Well, staying hydrated in general is key, so drink up that H2O. But when it comes to food, you want those omega-3 fatty acids on your plate.
Salmon. Right. My grandma always said salmon was good for your eyes.
She was right. Salmon, tuna, mackerel, sardines, all those oily fish are packed with omega-3s.
Got it. Salmon for the win. What about other foods? Anything else I can add to my grocery list?
You can also get those good omega-3s from plant-based foods like flax seeds, chia seeds, walnuts.
Okay, so easy enough to work those into your diet. Sprinkle some chia seeds in your yogurt, snack on some walnuts.
Exactly. And don't forget about leafy green veggies, spinach, kale, collard greens. They've got nutrients like lutein and zeaxanthin, which are great for your eyes.
Okay, message received. More leafy greens it is. Seems like taking care of your eyes is about so much more than just seeing clearly. It's connected to our sleep, our diet, what's around us. It's about taking care of our whole selves.
You said it. Our eyes are part of our bodies, not separate from them. And just like any other part, they do better when we make healthy choices.
This has been such an eye-opening deep dive, if you'll pardon the pun.
I knew it was coming.
We've learned so much about what causes dry eyes, what we can do about them. I think the biggest takeaway for me is just how important it is to be proactive.
Yes, don't wait until those eyes are driving you crazy.
Exactly. Advocate for yourself, talk to your doctor, and explore all the options out there.
Well said. Knowledge is power, and now you've got the knowledge to take control of your eye health.
This has been amazing. Thank you so much for geeking out about dry eyes with me today.
Happy to do it. It's been fun.
And listeners, if you're itching to learn more, no pun intended this time, head over to our show notes. We've got links to all the research we talked about, plus some bonus resources. It really is amazing how much our eyes depend on the rest of our body. And it seems like with dry eyes, the key is to tackle the problem from different angles. not just look for one magic solution.
Absolutely. It's all about that holistic approach, combining those healthy habits with the right treatments and considering those more advanced options like punctal plugs if you need to.
Building your own eye care toolbox.
Love it. And like any good toolbox, you want a good variety of tools to choose from.
Speaking of tools, before we wrap up, I wanted to revisit something you mentioned earlier. He says sometimes it's not just about what we do that causes dry eyes, but what we don't do. Got me curious. Can you expand on that a bit?
Of course. We talked about sleep, but another big one that often gets overlooked is stress.
Oh, stress, of course. Is there anything stress doesn't affect?
You're telling me. Our eyes are no exception. When we're stressed, our body goes into fight or flight mode, and one of the things that happens is our tear production actually decreases.
Seriously?
Yeah.
I had no idea. So not only does stress make us feel crummy in general, it dries out our eyes too. Double whammy.
Exactly. It really goes to show just how connected her mental and physical health are.
Makes you realize taking care of your eyes isn't just about eye drops or whatever. It's about managing your stress levels too.
Exactly. It's all part of that holistic approach we keep coming back to.
So as we wrap up our deep dive here, what's the most important thing you want our listeners to take away?
If I had to pick just one, it would be don't just ignore dry, itchy eyes. It might seem like a small thing, but it could be a sign of something more going on. And if you tackle it early, it can make a huge difference for your eye health and your overall well-being.
Perfectly said.
Yeah.
It's been such an eye-opening conversation, no pun intended this time, I promise. We've covered everything from the science of tears to the nitty-gritty of Punctal plugs.
It's been a pleasure. I always enjoy a good deep dive into eye care.
The pleasure was all mine. And a huge thank you to our listeners for exploring all this with us. It never ceases to amaze me how a problem that seems so common can actually be so complex and interesting.
Absolutely. And keep those curious questions coming.
We definitely will. But for now, we'll leave you with this. What's one small change you can make today to show your eyes a little love? Until next time, stay curious.